Okay, so the question says Mr. Ledoba is the financial manager of Afrika Academics. The firm needs to replace one of its laptops. Management is considering purchasing one of the two possible laptops. There's HP 15S or a MacBook. Those are the two options that the management is considering. Now, based on Afrika Academics business activities, the manufacturer of the HP 15S laptop has done an analysis of the risk and return, okay, on the laptop for Afrika Academics management. This is a very important word. I'll just highlight, very key. I'll just explain them shortly. They've done analysis of the risk and return, right, of Afrika Academics management. Now, the manufacturer estimates that the expected return per HPS laptop invested in is 17%. So this means if Afrika Academics buys one HPS 15S HP 15S laptop, they will make a return of 17% on the money that is being spent on the laptop, right? So if they buy the laptop for 1,000, they will make 17% of 1,000, right, in terms of return. With a standard deviation, this is another keyword, of 2.5%, right? So standard deviation is risk. I will also explain that shortly. So we have now looked at one laptop, which is HP 15S, right? I keep saying HPS, HP 15S. Now, similar information, unfortunately, is not available, right, for MacBook laptop. So we don't know what is the return when you invest in a MacBook laptop, and we don't know what is the risk that you carry by investing in a MacBook laptop. Now, in order to compare the risks and returns of the two laptops, Mr. Ledoba prepared the following information for the MacBook laptop, right? So this is the information that is being prepared for us. This is what we are going to be using to find the return and also the risk or the standard deviation of the MacBook laptop, so that we can make comparison and then choose the best one, right? Now, let me just explain these concepts because it is very important that we understand them, right? It is very important that we understand these concepts. Now, the most important business decision has two key financial considerations, right? If you have a business right now, you want to own a business or you want to buy a share or a security, there's two important things that you'll focus on. That is the risk and that is the return, right? Most of us right now, maybe we have dreams, we want to start something, but we're scared because of the risk. But we know the return, right? But because of the risk, we are scared, okay? So these are very important things. Now, each financial decision presents certain risk and return characteristics, and the combination of these characteristics can increase or decrease the value of whatever it is you want to do, or the business or the share price. All right, so what do I mean by this? When you combine the risk and the return, you can come to a conclusion that this is worth this much. Is this worth it? Of course, if something, the return is, for instance, let's say the return of something is 1,000 and the risk is only 5 rands, you'll most likely think, well, I might as well just take this investment because I'm risking only 5 rands to make 1,000. This is a good investment, right? So you come up to a conclusion that this is worth this much, right? That's what I mean by this this explanation of key financial considerations that we focus on, which is risk and return. So we use different methods to quantify the risk, right? There's many ways we can quantify or measure risk, all right? And this is what we are going to learn. But just remember, the focus tonight is the return and the risk, okay? And the risk, to calculate it, we are going to need standard deviation. So when you see standard deviation, you see risk. There's other ways of calculating risk, of course, but when you see standard deviation, you see risk, all right? Okay, so back to our question. Or is it? All right, so we are here. So what you see there in the first column you have scenarios. All right, so you have pessimistic, you have most likely, you have optimistic. This, what it means is that pessimistic is the worst case scenario. If things are worse, you'll have the pessimistic scenario. And then what you most likely expect is the most likely, right? And then if things are best, we will have the optimistic one, right? If things turn out best, then you'll have the optimistic one. And then next we have the chances of those scenarios happening. You have 25% chance of things turning out worse. You have 50% chance of things turning out the way you expect them to. And then you also have 25% chance of things turning out the best, right? And then if things turn out the worst, you will make 8% on your investment. If things turn out the way you expect, you'll make 16%. But if things turn out the way you don't expect but the best, you'll make 24%. All right? So the question here says, calculate the expected return for the MacBook laptop using information provided. So we're going to calculate expected return of a MacBook laptop. Remember, that's the information that we do not have. All right? That's the information that we do not have. Okay, so the way to go about this, you'll just draw a table. This is what you will do in your assignment as well. How many columns should we have? I think this is enough. All right. There we go. So remember, we are calculating the expected return. All right, of MacBook. All right, so the first column you will have the probability. Then the next column will have the return. And then the last column will have the expected return, which is what we'll be calculating. So you'll see it's very easy and it's a routine kind of question. So the probability is the information given to us. We have 25%, 25%, I mean to say 25%, 50%, and 25%, right? I'll just highlight so you can follow. These are the percentages of the probabilities that we're going to take. And then we're going to also take the return, which is 8%, 16%, and then 24%, right? So we can go back to our answer sheet. We'll have 25% over here, 50% over here, 25% over here, and then we'll have the returns, 18%, 16%, and then 24%. So how do we find the expected return? Well, that is very easy. You will just multiply your probability and your return. Now, this is very easy, right? I promise you. But what most people struggle with is rounding off, is conversion, because most of us, we don't really do these mathematics things daily in our lives, right? So we don't expect you guys to know these things. So you can know that I have to say probability times the return, but can you convert, right? Can you round off? Most people struggle with that, and also sometimes people will just lack the confidence to believe that an answer can be 0%. Sometimes an answer can come out as 0, and then someone might say, well, this is not possible, right? So the first one, you'll simply say 25% times 8%, right? And then I'm not sure if you guys have calculators, but it's fine if you don't have. You'll probably have it next time. So this will give us 2%. All right. So do we have anyone that does not know how to convert, so that I can show the calculator on the screen? If there's anyone, you can just open the mic and say so. If we all understand, then we move. Anyway, this 2% is just going to come here. Okay, so I'm assuming everyone is on track. Then the next one will say 50% times 16%.
Nonsense.
Anyone?
Yes, it's myself, Mpo.
All right,
Can you
perfect.
just show it, please, because I don't have an idea.
All right, I'm going to show it now. So, by the way, guys, I recommend that you buy a Casio calculator. Does not have to look like the one you'll be seeing on the screen right now. Can be the blue one or the pink one. Yeah, but just get a Casio. This one is perfect. All right. Okay, so someone said they don't know how this works, so I'm just going to explain, right? So remember, the calculation was 25% times 8%, right? 25% times 8%. All right, it's fine. So you'll say there 25 shift, and then there's a percentage sign there, and then you'll say times. Okay, 25% times 8%, you'll have 8 shift percent, right? Just like that. And then you'll press the equal sign. So you'll have 1 over 50. Sometimes you might get 0.02. And it will depend on the calculator that you're using. It's the same thing. Okay, so you don't do anything to that answer. It is still in a decimal form. You have to convert it into a percentage. So the way to convert, you immediately press times 100. So every time I say convert to a percentage, guys, I simply mean multiply by 100, right? So that is 2%. It is not there's no percentage sign there. You just know in your head that is a percentage. So let me just repeat. Let's say 25% times 8%, right? Equal sign. Immediately you multiply by 100, which is a conversion, and then you get 2%. Is it clear?
Yes, it's clear. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. So now we go back to our answer sheet to continue calculating our expected return. All right, where is it now? Okay, it must be showing right now. All right, so we are back to our answer sheet. We'll do the same thing we did on the first step. So that's why I said that this is very easy. You can see that by now we're starting a routine, right? But even though this is a routine and it's easy, it can be difficult to use a calculator or to round off. So the next one is 50% times 16%. And then that will give us 8%. And then the last one is 25% times 24%. Okay, I say that this will give us 8, and then this will give us 6%. All right. So our expected return will be a sum of those values. Our expected return, you'll simply say 2% plus 8% plus 6%, and then you will get 16%. So this means if Afrika Academics invest in one MacBook, they expect a return, I mean to say an expected return of 16%. Is this clear, guys? Do we have any questions? Okay, no questions. Seems like everything is fine. That is perfect. All right. So let's now move to the next question. Next question says calculate the standard deviation for the MacBook laptop. All right. So remember, standard deviation is a statistical tool that we use to measure risk. We can measure risk in many other ways. You will see throughout the semester as we study, right? But one of the common ways is standard deviation. We'll see this in FMA101, FMA500. Okay, so once again, we'll have to draw a table. Let's just write here to show that calculating standard deviation, right, for MacBook. Okay, and please guys, be patient with yourself, right? You don't have to understand all of these things on your first try. Sometimes it's gonna take you time, so just be patient and don't feel bad if it sounds very, very confusing. It takes time, trust me. So once again, you'll have probability. This is one of the simplest method, right? You'll have probability, you'll have the return again, and then you'll have this funny thing here, the return minus the expected return to the power 2 times p, which is the probability, right? I'll just show here p, then I'll just show here rj. So remember, our probabilities are the ones that are given to us over here. Your 25%, your 50%, your 25%, and then our return also are the ones given here: 8%, 16, and 24. Right, 8%, 16, and 24. So we'll take that information and then substitute over here. So we'll have 25% over here, 50% over here, 25% over here, and then the return 8%, 16%, and then 24%. Well, this is the calculation I would expect you guys to find confusing. And like I said, it's normal, right, to feel that something is confusing, especially when it is your first time. It becomes abnormal when it's like you're doing it for the 20th or 10th time and it feels confusing. Either your tutor is not doing something right, or you yourself have to look yourself in the mirror. Okay, but the first time, totally normal. You just have to take it all in and then try again. All right, since there's also going to be videos in the future, you can just watch them. So what we see here in this column is giving us a direction of how do we calculate things that we need in this column. You see there we have a bracket, you have RJ, which is your return, and then you have your ER, which is your expected return. And then you have your P, which is your probability. But just here up top, we have this funny number to the power 2. Okay, so this is where the proper calculator wins, because you'll be able to do all of this thing at once and then you get the answer. But if you have other calculators, you have to do it manually. So I will explain using a Casio, right? So if you're using another version of a calculator, it will be better if you just inbox me and then I'll try to explain. But now I will explain as if you're using a Casio, right? So let's start with the first row, right? Just keep this in mind. Start with the first row, you keep that in mind. So you'll open a bracket and then your return, which is your RJ, you'll write 8%. This is the 8% we're referring to. Then you'll say minus expected return. The expected return is the one we have calculated just now, 16%. Okay, so I'll just write it on this side so that we don't have to move to the other page. the expected return is 16%. So we'll say 8% minus the expected return, which is 16% to the power 2 times the probability, which is 25%. All right? So remember, this calculation is the one which can be confusing. And then the answer that you will get here is 0.16%. So this one, I'm definitely going to show it on the calculator on the screen so that everyone can try to follow. Okay, so remember, the first thing you do, you open your bracket, all right, and then you're going to have your return, which is 8%, and then minus the expected return, which is 16%, and then you're going to close your bracket, and then that funny 2 to the power 2 is an exponent, and then finally you'll multiply with the probability, which is 25%. All right, so you can see it looks exactly like how we wrote it, right? So when you use a Casio, the things that you write down are the things that will appear on the calculator, which makes it easier for you as a student. And then you'll press the equal sign. Then immediately you convert to a percentage. You don't do anything, times 100. And then this will be your answer, or your answer will come out like this. It's the same thing, right? So that is the 0.16% that we got. So let me repeat again. You'll open a bracket, and then you'll have the return, which is 8%, and then you'll minus the expected return, which you calculated was 16%. You close the bracket to the power 2 times the probability, which is 25%. You press the equal sign, you convert to 100. I mean, say to a percentage, right, by multiplying by 100. Then you'll get 0.16%. All right, that is how we calculate that. So this is the one. I don't know. How do you guys feel? Do you think this one is also easy, or am I right when I said it might be challenging?
No, this is really challenging.
Yeah.
Now for myself, now it is challenging.
Yeah, I did expect that. But like I said, this is your first time, so don't be hard on yourself. You can start panicking after maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then this is still challenging. Okay, so we are back on our screen, on our answer sheet, and then we said that this is 0.16%, right? So we will do the same thing for the next one. I'll just remove this. We will say our return is 16%, and then we will have 16% over there minus the expected return, which is the one we calculated previously, 16% over here, times the probability is 50%. So this one right away will give us 0%. Why so? Because 16 minus 16 is going to give us 0, so we don't need to calculate this one. But for you guys, since it's your first time, please do enter this on a calculator when you do this activity alone, right? So that you can see it with your own eyes, so that you can believe, right? Don't do it like me, but you'll see with more experience and then understanding the subject. By the time we have preparations for exam, you'll be giving me answers. If you watch most videos, you'll see my students give me the answers, so you'll also reach that level. Don't panic. Then the last one, we are doing the last one. Then this will be the last calculation. Then soon we'll be done. So return, right? Minus, so return is 24%. This one here, minus expected return 16% over there, times the probability, which is 25%. Okay. And this gives us 0.16% again. So as soon as you're done with this, you add all these three values, 0.16% plus 0% plus 0.16%, and that is going to give us 0.32%. Do we have anyone with their hand raised? If you do, you can ask.
Can you please repeat the one with the 0%?
All right.
The second one.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good thing that you asked. Okay, guys. Remember the formula says return minus expected return. Okay, so what is our return? It's 16%. Okay, it's the one over here. So you will then write over here 16%, and then what is our expected return? It's the one over here, the one that we calculated. So you'll say minus 16%, right? Times the probability. What is our probability? It is the one over here, 25%. So the answer is 0%. The reason I said that, and then I said that it's easy to see, but for you, you must do on your calculator, is because 16% minus 16% will give us 0, right? So anything that you multiply with 0 will definitely give you a 0. Is it clear, or should we do it on a calculator? Someone asked, is it clear now? The 0% thing.
I just want to understand, why are we using the 25% on probability instead of the 50%?
Oh yes, that's a mistake
I
I
think it's a
made.
mistake.
Yeah, it's a mistake.
Well,
Supposed to be 50, but the answer will remain the same. Yeah, that's a mistake. Thank you for showing me. That's a mistake. So this is the probability you're supposed to use. Yes. Is it okay now?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, guys. Any question regarding this 0% thing? Or we all okay?
we okay for now.
Yeah, I'm happy we're all okay. Okay, so remember, after calculating all of those values on the last column, right, there's 0.16%, there's 0%, and this one, we're going to add them, right? So when you add them, you're going to get 0.32%. All right, so we're not done yet, but that is definitely going to take us to the last step of calculating standard deviation. So the standard deviation is going to be equals to square root of 0.32%. All right, the square root of 0.32% will give us, initially the answer that you will get is 0.0565, and then the number will continue, right? But as always, we must express this in percentages, so we will also convert this. You just multiply it by 100, right? We convert into a percentage, then this will become 5.66%. All right, I I think I'll also have to show this on a calculator. So I'll just switch now and then show the calculator. So remember, guys, I said I recommend a Casio, right? The pink one or the blue one. They are really easy to use. Okay, so square root of 0.32%, right, equals to, you can see the answer that we get initially, 0.056 and then you convert that into a percentage. Okay, and that is 5.656. When you round that off to 2 decimal places, it will become 5.66%, right? That is the risk. That is the standard deviation. So do we have any question regarding this? It's also fine. If there's no question, you don't have to say anything. I'll just know by silence that we're all good to go. All right, perfect. Now, as soon as you have these results, so far we have calculated the standard deviation. We've also calculated the expected return, right? We have done 1, 2, and then the last question, 3. Right, so number 3 says, based on the expected return, all right, what was our expected return? It was 16%. All right. Based on the expected return and standard deviation, I'll just write, okay, let me not be lazy and write it in full. Standard deviation, which was 5.66%. So based on the expected returns and standard deviation for the 2 laptops, so remember this is for MacBook. So what about the HP 15S? The information was given to us, that one. We were told that is 17% for HP 15S and 2.5% standard deviation. So you'll just write here 17% and then 2.5%. So based on the expected returns and standard deviations for the 2 laptops, which laptop should Mr. Ledoba recommend to Afrika Academics management? Substantiate your answer. All right, so here you can even apply logic. It's going to be easy, but I'll just show you how do you answer this kind of question, because you'll find that it's 17 marks, right? You're wondering, I mean to say it's 7 marks, so you're wondering where do these 7 points come from. Okay, so when we apply our logic, we can see that the expected return of HP 15S, supposed to be S here, it is the superior one. Right, we have 17% return, which is more than the expected return of MacBook of 16%, right? And then also the risk. When you look at the risk, you take the smaller number. Remember, risk is bad, right? So you want the number to be small, right? Risk is more like a loss. So HP 15S is still superior as well, because it has 2.5% compared to standard MacBook, which has 5.66%. So the way to go about answering these kinds of questions, first you have to explain. Right, you have to explain expected return in your own words. And then you also explain standard deviation in your own words. And then after you explain them, you start to code them. So when you code, you must code as if you're explaining to a child. This is very important. You must code as if you're explaining to a child. So you must say that the MacBook, right, expected return. So don't write like me. I'm just trying to write as I talk, right? The MacBook ER, or expected return, is 16% compared to the HP 15S expected return of 17%. And then you will choose, you will say that HP 15S in this case it is much better. And then you'll move to standard deviation. Then you'll say MacBook standard deviation is 5.66%, while the HP 15s standard deviation is 2.5%, right? And then HP 15s is still superior even in this case. So Mr. Aldao must recommend HP 15s because it has a higher expected return and also a low standard deviation. Sorry about that. And then you will be done with the question, right? So remember, this is under risk and return related to your assignment. I'm not sure which question, but I did see that there is a risk and return on your assignment, right? So very, very, very important that you understand these things. And then I will be sharing these videos with you guys. So do we have any question, guys? If you don't have any question, maybe I'll share something very important that I think everyone must know. So do you have any question?